All right, got the E46 outside. I'm gonna go ahead and try and pressure wash it, clean some of this stuff up. A little dirty in here. I'd like to just get the junk down here cleaned up because once the engine goes in, this is much more challenging to clean up. So anyway, don't expect crazy results, but just a quick spray ought to help a little bit. So. All right, and there we go. It's clean as crazy. How much better that looks. I mean, obviously everything's wet. When it dries, it won't look as nice, but look at the subframe pan there, or whatever that is, the shield down there. Whole subframe is clean, steering rack's clean, steering shaft is clean. All of this will be much more pleasant to work on. Yesterday, I just didn't really film any of this. I honestly was feeling a little under the weather this weekend, but I still worked on some stuff. Got the, took the lower panel out of here and started working on the heat shielding. So this is the DEI Floor and Tunnel Shield that I'm using here. And I'm just gonna get it on the sides here as well. And that should help with a little bit of heat dispersion. On the Lexus, I had a lot of heat that came through that area from either the transmission or the exhaust. And the exhaust is gonna run through kind of this region as well. So getting a little bit of heat material there should help. I also, yesterday, took the motor mounts. These are the Pencil Tucky motor mounts. And I coated them with some of this Steel It black. So this is the transmission mount and then the two engine mounts. So just because they ship in raw steel. So got those coated up so that those are ready for when it is time to get the engine in. So anyway, just a few things that are going on. So for now, today I'm just gonna work on getting the rest of the tunnel covered. And I think that'll probably do it. It's just a weekday today, so I'm just trying to take advantage of the good weather that we have. I've got my heat shielding in place down here in the transmission tunnel, and it does not look perfect, but it looks good enough. So this should help. I still need to cut the hole for the punch a hole right there for the where the shifter will go through, and then I believe there's an AC drain line, and because I plan on keeping the AC in this vehicle, I left that there. But just got this all in here, and it's got this kind of dimpled finish to it, and then I used the DEI tape in the seams on these to just keep everything together. All right, so it is the next day working on the E46 project, and I'm going to start working on the engine itself. Yesterday, I got the transmission tunnel shielding put in, the heat shielding, and I still need to do the firewall stuff, but the weather is great and I want to take advantage of it, and I need to start getting the engine itself prepped. So I'm going to pull the old 6 liter that's sitting on the stand out and start working on that.
there's a 6-liter that's been wrapped up for the better part of 3 or 4 years now. I don't know, it's been a while. But this thing, I got it several years ago. I ordered it through an eBay seller, I think, and it showed up. And when I pulled the cam out of it, it had the center cam bearing came right out with the cam. So I had originally planned just throwing a cam in it and forgetting about it. But because the cam bearing came out, I had to replace those, right? So when I did that, I pulled the crank out, I threw some new bearings in the bottom end, put my cam bearings in, threw some of the Loctite greens meant for like surface to surface contact, which I've read is supposed to help. So we'll see. I don't know if this thing's worth a shit, but we're gonna give it a shot and see if it runs. It might completely tank, and then I'll go find another, you know, either another 6.0 or a 5.3 or something to throw into it. But for now, I'm gonna run this guy and see how it does. And you can see it's, you know, it's a dirty engine, but the cylinder walls are clean. So I sprayed everything down, threw a good coat of WD-40 on it when I, before I stored it. It's got new lifters in it. It's got the cam in it. Front end seals. This is all sealed. I did the oil pan seal, but I'm gonna redo that because I have a baffle to go in there. Otherwise, everything looks decent. So I'm gonna throw a rear seal on it when I can. This was originally set up for a remote oil filter because it was on the Lexus, and the Lexus subframe stops right there, and there was no way you could pull that off. So this will get removed. It's not necessary for this setup, I don't believe. So I'm gonna put a standard oil filter on it, which means I gotta get the original filter fitting on there. And I've got an oil pan out back I can steal that from. So for now, I'm gonna go ahead and roll it over. I'm gonna get that oil pan off of there and get my baffle in there so I can get that off my bench and be done with it, reseal the bottom end there, and you know, move forward to getting some cylinder heads on this bad boy. All right, there we go. Got the bottom pulled apart, and this has already been done. So I'm gonna get the little brace there. I know these were a big deal a few years ago. I don't know if people still put these or care to put these on things. So whatever, it's got it on it. So what I need to do now is I need to clean out that oil pan because I literally just threw it on. It's what came out of the SC when I pulled it apart, and it's dirty. That engine was nasty, and so it ran great, but the 5.3 that was in it for a long time, but it was nasty. As you can see, it's kind of left the inside of the pan looking pretty gross. So I'm gonna go ahead and pull the housing adapter off of there, pull the baffle here, and then get all this kind of cleaned up. I'll give it a good spray with the pressure washer. I actually have this improved racing oil pan baffle. I've read great things about these things for years. So I'm gonna run this guy in there. I don't know if I'm gonna run an AccuSump as well. I may, but for now I'll at least run this, and that should help with some oil control, oil flow control, keep it from starving itself on big turns and things like that. Let me show you the difference between these baffles. This is the factory F-body pan baffle, you know, which really is more of just kind of a tray that sits in the bottom of the pan. So it's just got this kind of front piece here, as it sits in here like this, you know, you've got the factory, you know, kind of wings here, here and here, and then this front kind of baffle, I don't know, does something, I guess, but you can see the big difference between that and the improved racing baffle. So this has actually has some wings up on the top as well, probably to control kind of oil sloshing and all that just on the top. But then it's got this lower pan section here, which actually doesn't really block it off, so it looks like it's going to use the back of the pan as it should be. And then it's got these trap doors. It's got these 3 separate trap doors here. There's some threadlock orange on these guys. I like to use this stuff on basically all of my oil gaskets. I've used it on these on quite a few different pans. Seems to work really, really well at just keeping things sealed. I can't say that I've seen a leak come from anything that I have applied that to yet. So, and I've put it on quite a few things. So I'm gonna keep doing it. I found this was originally recommended to me by, I think, Sac City Corvette years ago for their for their main seals, their main and front and rear main seals. And I did that once, though. It's probably the only engine I'd use those on with the right presses, but otherwise, for like stuff like oil pan gaskets or even water pump gaskets, things like that, this stuff is great. It's it doesn't dry hard, so it's always a little bit malleable, which means that as things shift, you get vibration, all that. It doesn't like separate like RTV does, where RTV just kind of splits, and once it splits, that's it. So all right. And like most gasket makers, you just smear the crap everywhere and hope for the best. All right, Friday night working on the engine here for the BMW. I have a little bit of an update here. Got the old M54 out of my garage, which was nice. Guy came up from a different nearby city and came and picked it up and got it out of here. So today I'm working on cylinder heads. Excuse my bench, it's a little bit of a mess. I think that it's a unwritten rule that you're supposed to work on junkyard LS engines on filthy work benches or something. So anyway, I did take these earlier and pressure washed them, just kind of got the junk cleaned out of them. These are just the stock 6.0 heads. but I need to put some valve springs in them. I need to clean up the undersides. I cleaned up the block at some point when I originally kind of put things together. So the surface of the head gasket area is clean on the block, but they're kind of messy on this. So I pressure washed everything here. I'm gonna go ahead and scrub down just with a Scotch-Brite pad and just scuff down and get all the remaining gunk off of the bottom of these heads. Get them prepped up. I'll probably wash them again just to make sure there's no Scotch-Brite material that gets kind of left around on the cylinder heads after I'm done with that. And then I'll do my valve springs and then we're ready to rock. So, all right, let me show you how this valve spring compressor tool works. Pretty straightforward. So we'll start on these guys here. So you just need to get this piece in here, and the spacer goes on the bottom side because you need to basically raise this piece up so that it clears that. Get these get it kind of centered, and you don't need to crank this down, just snug it up so that there's no up and down movement in it. And then this, I'm going to loosen this a little bit. So I put some anti-seize on these threads so that they don't get destroyed. So it's a little gritty in there, or a little caked in there in the center, but that's all right. So thread this guy in basically until it comes through the other side, and from there you're good. It's got like these grooved sides. As far as I'm aware, these kind of stay here. Maybe for different retainers, but for these I just keep it flat side down. So then you're going to take your center nut here and tighten that up. Tighten this guy up. So what's happening here is the valves are pushing out of the bottom, and that's okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take my dead blow on the bottom side of the valves, and you just use a handle side and just kind of gently give them a little tap. So you can see they're just a little bit open right there, right? So just gonna give them a little love. Oop, there goes one. The problem is I've lost my retainers there. Fortunately, I have extras of these, but see, they both popped out here. So I'm gonna put those aside. And I'm actually, so the other one doesn't come out so violently, is I'm gonna loosen this up just a hair. So, because really, they'll break loose. So where I started these, I'm really kind of tapping them while they're out further than they need to be. So the further out, the more tension they're gonna have, the harder it's gonna be to actually get them to release anyway. There we go. So once they release, you can see the retainers just kind of loosen up there. So these might come out as is, but I'm going to just tighten this down a little bit more, really loosen them up. This is just a magnet on the end of a extension. Makes it easy to pull it. Oh, easy to pull these guys out of there. There you go. So there's the. Now your valves are loose in there. If you use a threaded rod in the center instead of a bolt, then you can do this with a socket, and it's a little easier. So now pull this out, put it aside, and pull these one by one and do my valve guides. There we go. Pull the valve guide out. I'm gonna just blast those with some brake cleaner. Clean out what I can. Then I'm going to grab, because this is the intake valve and the valve seals that I have a intake and an exhaust. So the exhaust is the brown. The brown is a more heat resistant. I don't know if they do these much like these anymore. These are old. We got these a few years ago and they've just kind of been sitting around, so I'm gonna use them. I'm gonna take a little bit of grease and just put it around the top here. And then I'm gonna take this, just roll it so the inner edge of that gets a little grease on it. And throw that guy in there. I have a large socket that sits over that. Give it a roll. You can hear when it centers because it starts making kind of that metal on metal. So we're good there. Now, old spring, toss that aside. New spring in place. Put that there. Do the other one. Oh, I lost my retainer there. Put that aside. Something. Pull this guy out. Something. Spray that. Brown. Push the valve up. Some grease on the end of it. There we go. Another spring on there. Oop. Don't drop that. There we go. All right, so now put this back. And I'll have to back this nut off again. And I just have the cylinder head resting on a drill battery, so it's a you know, kind of soft rubberized surface so that it's not scratching the head, and just so that the end is lifted so I can reach down here and hold the valves up by hand as I bring this down as needed. So, because you will need to line these up a little bit here, just to make sure as you compress it that your valves come through the retainers properly. So from here, just start tightening them down. And it's all right if that center bolt turns at this point. So, see what I'm saying? There's a little bit of movement there, and that's okay. Keep the valves up, so, because otherwise you could be compressing and these could sit down here and you're not really, you know exactly where you're at. So okay, so That's decent there. And then these little guys are kind of a pain in the ass, but I just take a little bit of grease and just kind of dab a little tiny bit of grease in the center of them. And that seems to get them to want to hold on to the end there decently. My gloves all greasy. So, yep. And I'm gonna use pick to help push these guys in place. And I actually am going to just push them down just a little bit. Just push the valve with them down just a little bit. And obviously they don't go all the way down because it's not perfectly centered yet. But it keeps them from slipping around, and they just kind of like to sit there. The reason these guys are such a pain is because they slip and you get grease all over your fingers or gloves or whatever. So again, just a little dab of grease on there. And don't forget that these are conical, so they clearly have a direction they wedge in. So small side down, big side up. Oh, let's see. Sometimes these are easier than other times. But see, the grease seems to hold them where they need to be. Again, just push them down, and then we can start backing off the nut. And they'll start capturing themselves there in the retainers. And there we go. And now you can remove the tool and move on to the next set of springs. So kind of rinse and repeat until you get through all of them. You can blast the excess grease out of there. So I'm going to do the rest of these in here. Get this done. I already did the other cylinder head, and then these are good. All right, there it is. Pretty straightforward stuff. So simple tool. I'll put the link below. I mean, it's probably not a pro grade tool, but it'll get you through a set of cylinder heads, and for 20 bucks, seems decent deal. I've seen people use, like, you know, makeshift solutions and all that stuff too. So whatever works. This works for me. So I'll drop a link below so you guys can check it out. There's a bunch of these different ones on Amazon. So, you know, pick whatever one you think is best. I think they probably all come from the same place. So this is the second one I've used, and they both work great. So. Cylinder heads are on. I don't know that I really recorded much of this, but that's okay. Threw some tape on the intake ports so I don't inevitably drop something in there. And we're getting closer. We're starting to look like, you know, some sort of project here soon. So there we go. Now it's really starting to kind of look like an engine with a few parts just in place there. So obviously these are just rested in place, and with the valve covers, just threw them on just for looks. But it's nice to see the engine kind of coming together here and looking like an actual engine, like it could do something. So I'm gonna cut the video here. I'm not really following these in any sort of order, just kind of doing things week by week. And so I think I'm just gonna cut these videos kind of on the week or whatever, just whenever I feel is a decent stopping point. And I'll just kind of keep at it. So if you're interested, I'm gonna film the whole thing, and you know, again, it's not how to, just kind of a progress, you know, kind of what I'm doing and why I'm doing it and all that. So if it's something that interests you, follow along, subscribe, hit like, comment. If you got any ideas, thoughts about the build, whatever, you done something similar, throw in the comments below. Anyway, thanks for watching.